I said it quietly, almost too quietly for the mediator to hear. My wife's boss looked at me from across the polished walnut table, a smirk tugging at the corner of his mouth. He sat too comfortably for a man who'd played such a central role in the collapse of a marriage. His suit was expensive, his confidence even more so. He leaned back, laced his fingers behind his head, and laughed. "Desperate bluff," he said. My wife shifted in her chair beside him, not beside me, and avoided my eyes. That was the first betrayal. Not her affair, not the lies. No, this moment. Sitting on his side of the table at the mediation, like an employee reporting to her manager, instead of a wife facing her husband. I didn't blink. I didn't need to. Because the moment he finished laughing, silence took the room hostage. He didn't like silence. Men like him rarely do. The conference room was all glass walls and cold angles, the kind of place where people chose words carefully because everything echoed. The mediator cleared his throat but didn't dare speak. Even he sensed the shift in temperature. Outside, the December rain tapped against the windows like impatient fingers. Inside, all I could hear was my heartbeat and his arrogance. My wife kept adjusting her bracelet, a gift from him, her new nervous habit. I had learned to catalog her new tells long after she stopped noticing mine. The smell of burnt coffee, the buzz of fluorescent lights, the coldness of the metal chair under my palms. Every detail felt sharpened, precise, just like me. He spoke to her more than he spoke to me, commented on the alimony proposal as if he were the one paying it, corrected her when she fumbled numbers, guided her responses with subtle nods. The mediator glanced at me with an apologetic wince. I didn't need sympathy. I needed clarity. And clarity arrived when her boss put a hand on her arm, a gesture too familiar, too comfortable, too dismissive of the wedding ring still suffocating her finger. That was the moment the final strand snapped. They thought they'd humiliated me. They mistook silence for surrender. When he said, "You're lucky we're being generous," something cold locked into place inside me. A hinge, a seal, a decision. I looked at him the way a surgeon looks at a malignant tumor, detached, evaluating, already planning the extraction. He noticed. A flicker of discomfort passed through his eyes. "What?" he muttered. I leaned forward, elbows resting calmly on the table. "Your phone will ring at 3:17 p.m. exactly," I said. "You'll answer it. You'll listen for 11 seconds, and then you'll understand." The mediator froze. My wife blinked. Her boss laughed. But I had already moved on. People think revenge is chaos. It isn't. Revenge is architecture. And I had been building quietly for months. After discovering the affair, I didn't yell, didn't confront, didn't collapse. I observed. Watched email patterns, tracked calls, learned the rhythm of their meetings, personal and professional. He was a man who used company resources for private indulgences, company funds, company time, company devices. Nothing illegal enough for prison, but enough to cost him something men like him value more: power. I collected everything, and when I had what I needed, I made one call, to the one person he couldn't charm, bribe, or intimidate: his company's chief compliance officer. A woman who'd been waiting for someone to hand her the thread that could unravel him. I didn't ask her to call him, I simply sent her the timeline. She chose the rest. In the days leading up to mediation, I stayed silent, watched her boss grow bolder, watched my wife grow careless, watched everything align. He strutted into the mediation room as if he owned it. At 3:16 p.m., he checked his watch with that smug grin. "You can stop posturing," he said. "It's pathetic." I didn't reply. Silence is a language, and he never learned it. At 3:17 p.m., his phone rang. Not a second early, not a second late. He smirked, answered, still playing the role of untouchable man. "Hello?" The smirk vanished. His eyes widened, the color draining from his face like a tide pulling back from shore. Compliance officers don't waste time on pleasantries. They don't give warnings. They deliver verdicts. 11 seconds. That's all it took to dismantle the empire he'd built on inappropriate favors, unreported expenditures, and an HR trail of misunderstandings. He hung up slowly, as if his fingers suddenly weighed too much. Then he looked at me for the first time, not as a man mocking another, but as someone realizing they'd just stepped into a trap engineered specifically for them. Who are you?" he whispered. I smiled. Just once. He tried to speak again, but the mediator's phone buzzed. Then my wife's. Then mine. Company announcement. Effective immediately, his name has been placed on administrative leave pending investigation. He stared at my wife, looking for support, for loyalty. But she was already shrinking away from him, sensing the fall, calculating her own survival. He was alone, exactly where I wanted him. She whispered, "You did this?" I didn't look at her. She was no longer the point. As the mediator ended the session early, her boss slumped in his chair, breathing like a man learning oxygen isn't guaranteed. I stood, collected my coat, buttoned it slowly. "This wasn't revenge," I said, stopping at the door. "This was balance." He swallowed hard. "Respect," I added quietly, "is paid one way or another." Then I left him in that glass room, surrounded by reflections of a man who'd finally seen himself clearly, and none of them were smirking.